Does persona work mean that I need to look like an Instagram model? Does persona work mean that I have to be wildly successful and have built a 9-figure business?
Persona is directly tied to our shadow. And when you're young, it's really hard to get to some of the shadow material, not because you're not willing or able or capable, but because some of it's just not available to you.
That's why persona work is so important. When one determines these things for themselves, just everything in our lives becomes just a little better.
Hey, welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. My name is Joe Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
We are rolling along another episode talking about persona today.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this on the last episode. We went way deep in the philosophical underbelly of persona, what it means. We talked about it on the last episode. I think if you want to get the best out of this episode, I recommend going and listening to that because I think it's going to lay some tracks for the things we're going to pick up on this show. I promised last episode and put Antonia into a scramble. Let's get real practical and down to earth and make some steps on how to...
Antonia, create step-by-step guides on how to do persona work for young people. And I was like,
So I put ourselves into a place where we have to perform. We'd show up on this.
That's okay. It's setting an expectation is fine. And actually, I think we do need to make it practical. Last time was very theoretical, which is interesting to me, but I don't know if it's as interesting to other people. So,
well, here's actually, I'm so keen on this because I think this is such an access point. Persona is such an access point, and personality types are an access point. I think both of these for deeper personal growth work.
Yeah.
And that's the heartbeat of what we do, Antonia, here at Personality Hacker, is we're hoping people can learn more about who they are, their personality, one of the 16 Myers-Briggs types, or their Enneagram type or whatever. But the whole point of it is to go further, not just to know who I am, but okay, what do I do with this information? How do I make my life better? And then how do I turn into the self here and really understand more about who I am and all the shadow material and all the parts of me and my whole self, getting to a whole self throughout our lives. I think that's why we like the on-ramp of personality type. It seems like it sets people up with a framework and a map for that.
Yeah. And
persona work is another access point because we talked about this in the last episode. Persona is directly tied to our shadow. And man, shadow work is so sexy. I see everybody everybody's like, I want to do shadow work. You don't hear, there's no channels around persona work as much. I mean, I guess there is.
Yeah.
But nothing like shadow work.
Shadow work, it's so hot this season.
Who I would say the person that's doing a lot of this persona work would be like Vanessa, what's her name? She does the human labs thing or whatever, where she does like all the body language reading and stuff. That's more persona work, I would say. It's about the behaviors we demonstrate or showcase to the outer world. And she doesn't call it that, though. She calls it like better communication or public speaking. Like persona work is always smuggled into a technique, a skill, a develop, like something else you're doing. We don't call it directly persona work. Like come learn persona work.
Yeah.
Like we do with shadow work.
Yeah. I actually think about like pickup for young men.
Yeah.
Pickup has been a lot about persona work. And so there's, these different disciplines and schools of thought, and I don't think we really teach it much in most any other context, which is kind of sad because, I mean, when people look down on things like pickup, it's like, well, where else are they going to learn the same skills? Like you kind of have to learn it somewhere, and so if people are not teaching them in other places, then people are going to go to, elements that teach them what they need to know.
Yeah,
and so. It's just like persona. We need to make persona sexy again.
Well, I think basically. That's so. To my point.
Yeah.
To my point.
To my point. You're allowed to have a point.
We've been playing with this idea of doing some live events, and maybe even at the time of this recording, I'll already have made some announcements on it. But the idea would be that we would work on persona stuff directly because I think shadow stuff is sexy. People want to do it. But you got to start with a persona, unless your persona's dialed in. And when you're young, it's really hard to get to some of the shadow material, not because you're not willing or able or capable, but because some of it's just not available to you.
Yeah.
It's just going to stay hidden in your unconscious for a period of time until you're a little older. There's certain things that showcase themselves on a developmental timeline. And so we try to rush towards shadow work maybe when we're young, when we can do shadow work. It's just through the persona. It's how we dial in our interface with the world. And so I think there might be available space right now in our culture, in our time, for us, Antonia, to do direct work with people around this, help them get over their social anxieties, help them get past some of the things that are challenging them in a social framework. Maybe there's public speaking or being more bold and, more assertive in your life, more setting good boundaries and knowing where your boundaries are, and you be able to assert those and say no to people. I think all of these things really deal with the persona.
Well, and also knowing we talked a little bit about this in the last episode, like what do we owe to society?
Yeah.
And we mentioned that idea of some woman being told to smile when she's not in a great mood or whatever.
Yeah.
And the standard reply is you don't owe anybody anything. That's not true, right? We do owe society something. It just might not be a smile in that moment. We might not owe society a smile, but we do owe society for the fact that it's a high trust society and we don't have to constantly, like, we don't have to carry shotguns, worried that somebody's going to try to steal our stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like, society does actually provide a lot for us. And so we do owe society, but what do we owe society is a really important question in persona work. Because there is a contortion, or I want to say like a distortion actually, of who and what we need to be in order to be acceptable based on a lot of social media propaganda.
Yeah.
Does persona work mean that I need to look like an Instagram model? Does persona work mean that I have to be just wildly successful and have built a 9-figure business? Does persona work mean that I have to be the coolest person ever, or whatever? Like, what is persona? Does persona work mean that I have to be an advocate for something really important and try to save the world and constantly be uploading pictures of myself doing all these good works? Like, what exactly is persona work? Who do I have to be in order to meet society halfway? And it can be really demoralizing, actually, because we see only a curated, like other people's curated persona as it is expressed through social media. So we don't see all the bad stuff. And then we compare ourselves and we found ourselves lacking. And then we kind of get an attitude, and then we get kind of anxious. And maybe now we have social anxiety because we don't think we're standing up. And that's why persona work is so important, is when one determines these things for themselves and is not overly influenced by other people's manicured, we say curated, but it's like a manicured version of who and what they are.
Yeah.
When we have a more earthy and authentic relationship to persona, just everything in our lives becomes just a little better.
Yeah.
Like everything becomes a little bit more relaxed.
Well, you mentioned social anxiety. And that it's a good jumping off point here. And we're going to get into some practical things. We tied this to personality types in the last episode. I said a lot of people might think, well, isn't my personality type my persona? Isn't that what I showcase to the world? There's aspects, maybe my 10-year-old or tertiary function, my cognitive function, that's showing up for me today. So that's like part of the part I'm showing the world. So why do we need the label persona? It's just our different aspects of our personality. We addressed that last episode.
Yeah.
Let's say someone is very socially anxious. They're a young person, maybe in their mid-20s. They are dealing with social anxiety. And I think this is a very common thing that a lot of people, not just young people, a lot of people deal with, right? I'm uncertain on the social expectations. I'm uncertain on how to interface. I feel deeply anxious about what those might be. And let's say that person stumbles upon personality types. So they are feeling bad about themselves. I'm anxious socially. I don't know what I'm doing, and they have self-talk maybe. Maybe they don't showcase that to the world. Maybe it's not public to anyone else, but they feel this way. They feel this social awkwardness. And then they read about this thing called introversion. They learn about personality type, and they read this thing about introversion. They go, oh, wait, I identify as an introvert. And here in the material, it's saying it's harder for me to be social, maybe. It's harder for me to be extroverted. It takes more energy. I don't have as much energy for it. I don't naturally have instincts for it or natural skills necessary or talents for it. I can build skill, but not natural talents. This explains so much. They read something about their personality type, realizing they're an introvert. And maybe they don't even go down the rabbit hole of anything else besides just introvert, extrovert. They just get this.
Right.
And they go, oh, and they don't have these words, but they might say, it's not my persona that's messed up. I don't have social anxiety. I'm just an introvert. Social anxiety is a label I picked up for myself because I didn't realize how I'm naturally wired. So now that I know I'm an introvert, well, I'm not expected to not have social anxiety. I'm not expected to be the life of the party or to know how to interface. Or again, I'm doing a lot of stereotypes and broad brushing this for illustration's sake. Clearly, it's nuance for the person experiencing this. But they say, oh, this gives me permission to be who I truly am. So once I have type, I don't need a persona or interface. I have my true self now. I know we addressed this a little bit on the last episode, but I'd like to start there to say, well, isn't that valid? To say all that social anxiety, it's only because of the expectations I thought were put upon me. But now that I know who I truly am and how I truly show up to the world and how I'm truly wired, I should be more of that. That's authentic for me. screw this whole trying to interface and be something I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I try to not have social anxiety?
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. It's me to not really have the energy for it, to not really want to put myself out there. So in a way, personality types lets me rest in how I'm wired, and the world could probably meet me a little bit more on my terms now. I think that's what a lot of people, when they would first come into this talking about type or something, I think that's what they would represent to themselves in their own heads.
Yeah. When a person discovers aspect of their cognition, like introversion, for the first time, it can be like a balm to the soul.
Liberating.
Mm-hmm. It's liberating and explains a lot. It really helps an individual put two and two together.
Feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. There's a phrase that I picked up from our friend Dario Nardi, who says, type won't do the work for you, but it will tell you what work needs to be done. And there is a law of diminishing returns on understanding our type being the only therapeutic tool that it has available. Meaning that if we only use an awareness of our type to explain away all of our behaviors, as opposed to it being a guide or a map for what work needs to be done, then now we're doing, well, a couple episodes ago, we talked about misuse and abuse of the system.
Yeah.
And one of those is, I shouldn't be expected to do ... I may ... right? So that's the first thing.
What I hear you saying then is understanding how I'm sick doesn't heal me. I just understand how I'm sick. Like if I was doing this a medical or a physical, like I have a sickness or an ailment, like my leg is broken and I can understand how it happened. I can understand where the break is. I have an x-ray that shows me exactly where that is. That's not healing my leg. That's just knowing where the break is and how it's broken.
Well, if you just have like had fatigue all the time, you're just like constantly tired and you just don't know why. Why am I always tired? Why am I always tired? I can't figure it out. I do everything. Like I've been trying to attend to my health, and then come to find out you have this like terrible infection in your gums that you weren't feeling. And that diagnostic just all by itself would be healing. It's like, oh, I'm not dying. I just have an infection in my gums. Great. Awesome. But now you have to deal with the infection.
You still have to heal it.
You still have to heal it.
Get medicine, go through whatever it needs to like fix it.
But now you have a plan of attack. Now it's not just like, oh, I guess I have to live with this forever. So the type helps us first get a lot of comfort. I guess the word is comfort I was looking for. It helps us get a lot of comfort around diagnosing what's going on. Now, being an introvert is not a sickness, obviously, so I don't want to like conflate it with that by any stretch.
Some of us don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's not at all.
Just like extroversion isn't a sickness.
Sorry I went to sickness or brokenness. I mean, it could be good stuff too, right? I mean, just, I didn't mean to make it seem like everything's hurt or wrong or bad.
No. I think it's actually a really apt metaphor or analogy or whatever. Like, I think it's a good one. And so, but I just want to be clear that none of these things are actual like sicknesses, but they can be if we let them be, right? Like if there's a lot of pain associated with it, how is it not something that is a trauma that needs to be healed from? So the sickness can grow in there based on our predisposition. So I just want to say that there is a law of diminishing returns to the comfort provided simply through understanding. But the second thing, and I think this should be clear, is introversion is not social anxiety. Right? Like having introverted preferences does not doom you to a life of social anxiety. In fact, social anxiety is its own thing. And it generally can be overcome. In order to overcome social anxiety, you have to, just like anything that needs to be healed from, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And as an introvert, if a person discovers they have introverted preferences, they might go, this might be why it's been more difficult for me.
Yeah.
Right. This might be a contributing factor to why it's difficult. And also, I might have been trying to socialize in a way that isn't right for me. I might have been trying to socialize like an extrovert would, or set expectations up in that way. And I need to reevaluate my expectations.
Yeah.
Reevaluating expectations, though, should include a lack of social anxiety. Right? You don't need to be socially anxious just because you're an introvert. So it's more like the diagnosis helps with the prescription. In order to overcome social anxiety as an introvert, that's going to look different than overcoming social anxiety as an extrovert, which is also kind of a mind-blowing thought for a lot of people, that there are extroverts who have social anxiety. Absolutely. Yeah. Not even a question.
Oh, yeah.
It's a different prescription. Does that make sense?
We used to call it being shy.
Yeah, right.
Now it's like this massive, like labeled term, like social anxiety. It's like this thing. just be being shy. People are shy.
Well,
they're shy extroverts.
I do think that there is social anxiety that goes beyond shyness. Like, I think there's shyness and then there's social anxiety. But I would say that there are a lot of people who are simply shy that call themselves people, or have decided they have social anxiety.
Yeah.
And so there's it's like one definitely exists beyond the other. It's just we should probably not jump too quickly to the top level problem and address it at a lower level, because a lot of times it actually is there, even though the top level exists. It usually has a lot of contributing factors to it.
I know we went down this rabbit trail. Let me just say this then.
Okay.
Like if I have social anxiety, at the way you're describing it, like it's more than shyness. Knowing I'm an introvert doesn't fix that or help that.
Yeah.
It helps my feeling bad about the fact I have that.
Right.
In other words, if I kind of feel bad I've got social anxiety. If I have it, I don't feel like I can interface with the world. It's like, well, that's just how I am. Everybody deal with it. I've got social anxiety and I'm okay with it. It's like, no, people don't like the fact they feel that way. They don't like the fact they have social anxiety. Like, I don't want to be like that. I feel bad that I'm like that. I would like not to be that way. And what finding out that I'm an introvert might do for somebody is to say, oh, I don't have to feel bad about having social anxiety. That's just par for the course. That's just part of, and what you're saying is, no, it's not.
Right.
It's not the same thing as being an introvert. So letting it make you feel better about that, it can let you for a time maybe feel okay about it. Like, okay, that might be a contributing factor, but it shouldn't, quote unquote, let you off the hook. And so we still have to go back and do persona work.
Yeah, it's kind of like discovering that you have a genetic predisposition to something. And maybe it's something that other people only get through abuse of their body. Like, you know what I mean? It's like some people have manifestations, that are, or they're manifestations of having abused their body.
Sure.
And then other people have those same manifestations, but they never abused their body. It was just a genetic predisposition. And then going, well, why do I have this symptom? What's going on? I've never smoked, so why am I having these, or whatever? Like, maybe you have like acid reflux really bad, and you actually eat pretty well. And then you discover, well, you have actually a genetic predisposition, or you have an intolerance to a basic food.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, so now I don't have to live with like the shame of having abused my body, and everybody's going to like project that onto me.
Yeah.
When really actually it was just a genetic predisposition. Oh, I get some comfort from that. I didn't do this to myself necessarily. With shyness or social anxiety, which is the higher level order of that, then going, oh, I have extroverted preferences. Maybe that's been a contributing factor. That's not my fault.
Yeah.
Right. And so there is comfort that's there, but it's just like with the acid reflux. Oh, I have a genetic predisposition. Well, pile on the fried foods, right? Like, no, you still have to take care of it. You still have to have like the right prescription.
So then as we look for practical things with persona, I just brought type into it for a second to go, okay, I think a lot of people feel this way or think this way. But what we're really saying is, it's not like if I experience something with social anxiety, again, we'll just stick with that one. It's probably more persona work than personality work that I need to do. That's a persona job in front of me. I need to go figure out something with my persona. It's not about understanding my introversion or understanding how I'm naturally wired to have social anxiety. This is a natural order for all introverts, or really accept that about myself or anything. What you're saying is there's a distinction between like the emergence or the behavior or the feelings I have and my personality type. And so now we're back out of the realm of my cognition, how I learn information, make decisions. That's what personality shows us. We're moving over into the realm of persona again, which is my interfacing with the outer world. So if I feel social anxiety, type can be a tool and a map to help me find aspects of that and what's going on there. But it may not be the work I need to do. It's not where I'm going to do the work. The work's actually going to be on the persona side. Which
that information influences how the work is done, but it's not necessarily, like, it's not the end all be all. It's not the only piece of information you need.
Yes.
If a person is dealing with some legit social anxiety, or let's just say shyness, because I think that's actually what most people are dealing with. I just don't want to downplay like people who
have a severe
That's right. They
fear,
could have
anxiousness,
PTSD. They could have like complex PTSD. There might be a lot of contributing factors to create that social anxiety.
I always think of Carrie, the movie Carrie, the end of that movie. That girl has got to have social anxiety the rest of her life. Like how humiliated she was in front of everybody in the school. Like it's that standing in the underwear giving your speech kind of moment that we all have dreams about as kids.
Well,
like that would cause social anxiety for somebody. Like
absolutely.
That's the level of like trauma. I don't want to get in front of people. I hate they're going to trick me and humiliate me. Of course, that person, Carrie.
Unless you have that moment when you're blowing people up with your mind.
Well,
It's a pretty empowering moment, but yes.
but that's somebody I'm sure would feel social anxiousness, any context, because it was so horrible.
That's right. And so doesn't have to be with being an introvert, right? It has to do with the fact that they were in a terrible traumatic experience, and so they have to overcome that through more traditional healing tools.
Or mind control.
Yeah, or just blowing people up with your mind, right?
One of the two is going to work.
One of the two. Whichever works for you, and whichever one you have the tools for.
So step one, persona work. Get really good.
Right, exactly. So let's just talk about shyness, actually, because I think that's like less of a...
It's more persona.
It's more persona. Yeah, exactly.
So because social anxiety might be trauma, might be actual therapy you need, but let's back up from that a little bit.
Yes, and so persona work... it's not easy, but it gives you a lot of rewards later. It's basically, you know that phrase, pay now, play later, play now, pay later? Mm-hmm. It's basically bringing up the moment of the work, right? Do you want to not have a bunch of debt built up later on? Do some persona work now. And that debt is shadow work. And we'll talk a little bit about, again, the relationship between those two things. But persona work, especially when you're young, it actually eases things. If you do authentic, legitimate persona work, it is part of the solution to dealing with shyness. It is the solution to dealing with, say, hating people. I mean, I know you were talking about introversion, but the example that kept coming up to me is like thinkers who think they hate everyone because they have to play this dumb dog and pony dance, right? It's like, why should I have to do that? Why should I have to buy into society, you know, or maybe somebody with like introverted feeling or authenticity tendencies, you know, like why should I have to meet society where it's at or whatever? Like there's a bunch of different ways we can be wired that gives us a bit of an attitude about having to meet the world halfway. Yeah. And so there's like, why should I have to do that? And the answer is because it generates a ton of reward in the back end. Right? If you just bring that work forward, because when you're young, you don't know that you're kicking cans necessarily. We might instinctively know that. We kind of feel when we're being lazy, but we don't know that we are. We don't know that we're doing a disservice to understanding our whole self. We don't know that that's not going anywhere. Like you're going to have to deal with this at some time. So why not bring it forward and have more, you know, years of your life in a rested state than then later on go, I guess I packed this away. Now I have to deal with it now that it's like older and kind of maybe molding or whatever. And that's what happens. That's why, as we mentioned before in the previous episode, if we don't do persona work, there's more shadow work waiting for us in the back end. When young people want to do shadow work, like you mentioned, which is really not that available to us until midlife. And then at midlife, it's ridiculously available to us, and we oftentimes don't make the right choice around it.
It's almost unavoidable.
It is unavoidable. It's like inevitable, basically, for shadow work to pop up. Now, we can make one of two choices on that, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But when we're young, it's like I said in the previous podcast, it's like trying to potty train too young. We're just going to have a lot of accidents, and we're not going to really understand what we're doing. But what we can do is do persona work and clean up some of that, like put less material in the shadow through persona work. Yeah. And then we don't have as much weighing us down later on when the inevitable moment of our shadow, like meeting us, we're just like, oh my gosh, this is just too much to go through. We go, oh, this is manageable because I was sort of doing this work the whole time. I was sort of doing a bit of this as I was going. And so yeah, it's like, well, how about you just pay a little bit now? Don't kick the can in the future. Just do a little bit now. And then watch yourself gain all the rewards of not only later on having less shadow material, but also, I mean, when I look at people who do persona work, you can usually tell in their soma. Yeah. They're just more rested into themselves. They just have a bit more of like a sort of, you know, they're less anxious. They're generally not just social anxiety, but like less anxiety in general.
I think they have less anxiousness, less anger, and less shame that they feel. I think all three of those things are diminished when we do persona work. Do persona work, quote unquote, doing persona work, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. This is so abstract. Yeah. So if it's not about recognizing that I'm a certain way and I'm wired and I should just accept the fact that I'm, you know, shy or socially anxious or whatever, it's not about that. It's about doing direct work with it. Okay, what are we actually talking about with work? Was there a principled formula? Question mark, teeing us up for this principled formula, these steps. Are there steps that we can go through to actually address this in our lives? Yeah. Like, what do we actually do? When does the rubber hit the road?
Yeah. Step 1, do persona work. Step 3, profit. So, just to repeat, even though I highly recommend somebody go back and listen to the previous episode, just to repeat Jung's idea on the persona, it's not a false front. It's not fake. It's an aspect of ourselves that we're choosing to interface with our environment at any given time. And we can have it's a selective presentation. It's selective authenticity, basically. And actually, maybe even presentation is a better word, because sometimes what we're presenting to the outside world, it's just like, in the most strictest of terms, authentic, right? Because it's coming from us. But it might not be an accurate representation of how we wished we could show up in this moment. It might not be an accurate representation of what's going on for us as we're interfacing with the moment. So sometimes the presentation is it's performance, right? Sometimes it's very performative, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's just not a good thing when we can't at all ever show our authentic side, when we feel like that's not safe. Like we always have to have a performance to the outside world. And then on the next piece is over-identifying with that performance, saying that's who I really am to ourselves, even though we know it's not who we really are.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the reflection that the world gives back to us when it's engaging with our persona, this is how it has a relationship to shadow. When we're engaging with the outside world and the world reflects back what it's experiencing of us, that's an opportunity to see things that we cannot see about ourselves on our own, right? Yeah. All shadow material has to be reflected back by somebody else. Otherwise, we'd be able to see it ourselves. That's it. By definition, it's in the shadow.
But what about the persona, though? Is that reflected back too?
So that's the point of the persona. The persona is part of a feedback loop with the outside world. So the world reflects content back to us of what it's seeing about ourselves. And then we can, accept it. We can say, oh, the world is saying this about me.
Yeah.
What does that actually say about myself? And then it encourages introspection. Yeah. And that's why it helps root out shadow material in the future, because we're not just rejecting it and disowning the feedback and then having more to have to go through later on. We're sitting with it and going, is this me? And how is it me? And why did the world think it was me? What does it actually say?
Yeah.
And the world might be uncalibrated, but it's still giving us an opportunity to do that introspection and find the aspect that maybe was inconvenient, and now we can own it.
So I have an experience. It was challenging for me. It wasn't, when I say it's triggering, it was triggering, but it wasn't like triggering like I was like flying off the handle, punching stuff and like losing my crap on something. I wasn't like triggered like, I can't see past this. But it's triggering. It had me reevaluate. So I mentioned in the last podcast that to be in a podcasting framework, you have to be curated a little bit. Yeah. Like we're sitting in an awkward way. We're sitting closer than we normally sit. We set this up to be presented to cameras. So we're in persona right now. We're showing an aspect of ourselves, our podcasting selves, and we've got all the accoutrements of it. We've got the microphones, and we get dressed. I'm not in my pajamas. Like I've got lights on.
Are we sitting closer than we usually sit?
Well,
because you don't like me because I've got cooties, right?
Fair enough. I mean, it's like an awkward way we're sitting. I guess
it is indeed awkward.
It's like this.
There's
weird,
a lot of adjustment we end up doing.
Like on like the David Letterman or the old late night shows, they like the desk and the chair is really close together for small black and white television.
Yeah,
they're actually awkwardly close. That's why they have the desk, so they can like sit them really close. Otherwise, it's like weird in the camera shot. Yeah. It's to cover that. Sure. So we're like in a synthetic, curated, presented environment. I don't believe we're being inauthentic right now, but we are curated. Like there's a part of us we're bringing out. It's more of our professional selves. I'm not cursing. I'm not swearing. I'm not using slang. I'm doing a lot of things to be more formal, to be presentable. We'll edit out, like if I started having a coughing fit, I'd edit that out to curate. Does that mean it's inauthentic? You should leave all the coughing in to be really authentic. No, you present it well. We want to curate well to the outside world. So I was really triggered. It was challenging for me. I was triggered around this when this happened to me. It has happened more than once, but the first time it happened, I was like, I had to really contend with it. When people would come onto our podcast channel on YouTube and they would see us and they'd like listen to the podcast and they'd say, the man in this video, and then their comment, or the woman in this video. I was like, well, I'm not the man in this video. I'm a person. My name's Joel. I even said at the beginning of the episode, and I was trying to showcase my most authentic. You're like reducing me down to like a category of a gender on this video, almost like I'm this stranger,
Abstraction of the thing.
abstraction. What? And I had to think, is that what I'm giving out to the world? Am I just kind of like, so that's why I asked the question, is our persona also reflected back to us? Because the persona this person got from me was it was an NPC. I'm just a man representing an idea. They don't know my name. They don't know anything about me. I'm just this character, this like cardboard cutout of a person. And I was really deeply disturbed by this. Now there's part of my personality type would make sense. You know, I got introverted feeling, authenticity, clear, to explain that away. But in a way, basically they're saying your persona is very one-dimensional. It's cardboard. I don't see any dimension to it at all.
Yeah.
Or are they saying something about themselves? Are they truly reflecting back how I'm projecting the world? I think I give personability out and showcase myself. And I believe my perspective of myself is my persona is it's hard to ignore the uniqueness that I bring. It'd be hard to cardboard cut out me. I don't look like everybody else. I try purposely not to be lumped in like this.
Yeah.
Like on purpose. And yet here I'm still like, so are they reflecting something about my shadow? Are they triggering me about that? Are they triggering about my persona? Like, what is that person actually reflecting back to me in that moment? And I don't really have the answer to that. I'm genuinely asking it.
Yeah. So when we get feedback around our persona, it doesn't mean that the feedback is accurate. It means it's an opportunity to figure out why you were triggered and to discover something about yourself that you discovered now, as opposed to kicking the can into the future. So if you get sort of grumbly about that, and you go, those guys are just, I'm going to swear because my persona allows for it. Those guys are just assholes for, but Jules doesn't. Jules is not okay with it.
I bleeped it out.
You bleeped it. Though you'll have to do it again. Those guys are just assholes for saying that kind of thing, and then you move on and don't receive the feedback.
Sure.
Then now, whatever was the trigger, whatever was the thing that was coming up for you, is not work you contended with now and cleared it out. Now you've kicked that into the future at some point where you have to contend with it later. And maybe when you contend with it later, you don't do it in a thoughtful, introspective way. You do it in a way that kind of bites you, and you just react and respond in the future. And you wished you had known that about yourself.
Yeah.
So in that moment, the opportunity could be, I don't like that other people see me as an NPC, a non-player character. I don't like that. So now I have to sit with the fact that I actually see a lot of other people as NPCs. So why am I not okay with people seeing me as an NPC? Because we all see people as NPCs.
Sure.
Right. On some level. And it's like, so now I have the opportunity to reconcile my relationship with being, the player character in my life, and having other people not see me that way because they're the player character in their life, and I'm just an abstraction of a person. And now I have to kind of sit with the fact of like, I guess I am an abstraction to other people, and that means that they're not going to necessarily take me into consideration. They're not going to do all that. And yet, am I also not doing that for that? You know what I mean? It's like it creates this really great opportunity to make peace with something that is an irritant.
Yeah.
You get to the other side, and it depends on where your brain went and where you like what was the actual source of the challenge, and can you go back and figure out that the true source was maybe in the past or being treated in a certain way, and maybe it's evoked a memory that you need to reevaluate and process. And it's like it allows you to identify what you could call unprocessed material.
Yeah. And
now you can process it, and now you don't have that hanging in the shadow anymore. Now you've processed that unprocessed material, you cleaned it out, and now it's done, right?
Yeah.
Cleaned out the closet, or at least that part of the closet.
I think how I dealt with it is what we always do with our persona when we get feedback we don't like. I went, well, they don't really know who I am. Of course, they're not going to see the authentic expression of me.
Yeah.
I wasn't really showcasing my true self. That wasn't really me. So it like salves the pain. It's not so painful to not be seen because I'm like, well, it wasn't really me anyway. Like that's how I dealt with it.
Yeah, I had an example of this really recently too. Remember those old type advice videos that we recorded like a million years ago?
Like back in 2012 or something.
Yeah. Like I look so young and I'm like, I wish I looked that young still.
Everything was like tenuous on it, or like a little more uncertain of talking on camera.
It was like the first time that I created any content for anything, honestly. Like I had created a little bit of content before, but I was never on camera. I think it was like the first time that we were talking heads, camera was on us, and we were rolling that way. And they're 10-minute, right? They're probably like a 10-15 minute stops.
Shorter than that, maybe.
Yeah,
7
8-10
minutes.
minutes. And I was looking at you a lot, like as a ballast, because you had done way more content generation than I had at that point. I was used to only being a voice. I had given talks live on stage, but that's a very different, it's kind of like the difference between theater and filming a movie or a TV show. It's like a very different experience. So I had been used to, anytime I created content on stage in front of an audience of people, I was not used to being captured. And I think my introverted sensing or memory function was kind of freaking out about it. So 12 years later, I'm like, I'm on video daily practically now. I don't even think about it. Like, I've overcome so many of those issues. It's like a distant past. And a person made a recent comment under one of those that said, she is so insecure. She's looking at him.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was like, but it was like, she's looking at him because she's so insecure. And then they said, I like their podcast, but after watching this, yikes.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You don't see any difference at all between our old content and our new content? Like, at all? You're not giving any room for growth. You're not allowing me to have like 12 years of picking up a skill. And I was like so indignant around all of it. I'm like, what do you mean you like the podcast, but now yikes? I'm like, what? And so like, right? And then I just like come, and I was like, seconds away from like writing all of this down and like being kind of like my usual like sort of like, scathing reflect back thing. And then I just went, okay, well, first of all, okay, that's just that person's experience. It's going to be fine. But second of all, I was like, why am I so triggered that somebody else is not charting my progress?
Yeah.
And
they should be paying attention.
They should be paying attention to me and watching my life.
Where's your calendar?
Right.
Write that down next time. Look at the timestamp. Know better.
Like, this person has a busy life, I'm sure. Why should they be charting my progress? And then I was like, well, maybe it's actually a time period for me to be doing that for myself.
Yeah. Maybe
I need to just for a moment to, like, because sometimes the shadow work can be good stuff that's unprocessed. Maybe I need to take a moment to look back and go, wow, I've come a long ways. Yeah. I was so insecure at that time. I was like looking at you like help like the entire time, and now I'm just like, yeah, do you want me to do this by myself or what's going on, right? Like, it's just a totally different ball of wax. And it's been a decade or over a decade. It's been about 10-12 years, but I feel like I've come a long way.
Yeah.
And then I got to just be with that. I'm like, and then after I processed that and took all of that progress into account, I didn't really care about the comment anymore. I was like, okay, well, that's just like, oh no, one person. Okay. Dang. It's going to be fine.
What a great example of positive material that comes up from our shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have just gone down the negative road. Like, oh, gross, I feel bad about that. And like, well, we have to mitigate that. That could hurt our numbers and people listening to us. If other people think this too, and you go into panic and mitigate the crash of it, or you can do what you did and wait a minute, maybe there's an opportunity here to celebrate where I've come from, and like how far I've come along and how much better I'm doing now. And here, like, good stuff was reflected back to you in that moment where you had the availability to go down either road.
Yeah.
You could have doubled down on kind of feeling really bad and negative about it.
I was pretty close too.
But you alchemized it. You pivoted over to do something a little bit better for yourself.
Well, thank you, because I'm giving myself even more self-confidence points based on the fact that I handled it well. I didn't even think about that. So thank you. I'm going to receive all of that.
But that's our option. All of us have this, I think, when we're triggered. And so I think that's the thing is we're talking a lot about, it's like an awareness emerges.
Yes.
For us.
Yes.
And I think that's where we have to start.
Well, and here's the key. Content is in the shadow when it's unseen and unprocessed. And the moment we look at it and process it, it's no longer in the shadow.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by cleaning out the closet. It's like I'm aware of that. And in some ways, the person did me a favor because they encouraged me to do some self-reflection on how far I've come. And then I was able to give myself self-confidence points.
Yeah.
So they actually, like, what started out as a screw you ended up as a thank you. It's like, oh, cool. Thank you very much for doing that. And I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So these are great examples to tee us up to talk about what does it mean to do persona work, right? These are good tee ups. And I want to harken back to the previous episode when we discussed the dissolution of persona. That's what Jung said. Everybody has to do a dissolution of persona. And we did create a distinction between dissolution or dissolving versus destroying or destruction.
You mean being disillusioned with my own persona?
Yeah, no, I don't mean that actually. But thank you for bringing up that possible interpretation.
But in a certain way, I kind of am starting to get disillusioned by it and maybe want to work on it. I mean, in a way, it's not in the way Jung talked about it, but there is this like, is this really serving me anymore? I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little disillusioned by how I've shown up with this. Maybe I want to change it and be a little different.
Yeah. I don't think that that's an appropriate way of looking at it, but those are two totally different words. They're spelled totally different. I mean, dissolve, like dissolve as opposed to disillusion.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
but
know.
yeah,
I know.
okay.
I'm not suggesting the same word. I know it drives your introverted thinking.
Oh my God.
All the thinkers are going to be like, Joel, stop creating more confusion. I get it.
For those of you who are aware of shadow functions and shadow archetypes, Joel has introverted thinking as his trickster function.
I wasn't meaning to be tricksy with it. I was just,
Okay.
it was a patterning on something that was inappropriate, let's say. Or not inappropriate, but irrelevant.
But there is...
Make a connection that wasn't really there. How's that? I'll say it that way.
There is something to be said with that. Yes, I'm sure dissolving probably follows disillusionment for sure. So what we mean by dissolve is, and not destroy, means that we have to have persona. Jung also said if we don't have a persona, we basically can't interact with society at all. He didn't use the word feral, but that's the word that always comes up in my mind. So we can't actually destroy our persona. We have to have it as a mechanism of bridging ourselves with the outside world. But we can alchemize it. And when I think of the word dissolve, it makes me think of a caterpillar in a cocoon, because caterpillars fully liquefy in the cocoon before they rearrange all their little atoms and cells to become a butterfly, which is a crazy experience to me. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's nuts to me that a caterpillar like carefully creates a cocoon and then turns into goo.
Yeah.
They just dissolve into goo. And then they rearrange themselves, and now they're another thing. It's like, I don't think that anything else in nature does this. It's sort of insane and beautiful and miraculous and kind of beyond my comprehension. But when I think about doing persona work, I think of that. I think about taking what was there and not destroying it, but allowing it almost to like liquefy or like look at all of the different parts without it having to be in a certain construction. And then allowing it to merge into what it's supposed to be, right? It's almost like it's evolved form. And then on the other side, having the freedom to fly, basically. So when we talk about persona work, think of it as a caterpillar to butterfly, not of destroying something that was wrong in your life.
So it's alchemy, not destruction.
Yeah.
Not getting rid of something, but transitioning or transmogrifying something into something else.
Yeah, and transcending it too.
Transcending it.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we talk about, let's get into some of these steps here. So if step one, let's say, is building awareness, I mean, that's the level that we're at. We're trying to be aware of something. We talked about triggers as a huge part of this, right? We just gave some examples about triggers, and they're pretty nuanced. Like, it's not as... we're not sitting around the Thanksgiving table and somebody with a political opinion opposite of us said something and triggered us, although that can happen. That's how we typically think of triggers. I'm talking about somebody that's depersonalizing me online. It's very nuanced and very specific to me in my context. That triggered me in a way. It brought material up. You were talking about things that were triggering to you. So triggers are a really great way for us to be able to tune into where we're at. And when we're aware at this level, are we aware of the category of work that it is? Are we making a distinction about awareness to say, like the example at the very beginning, is the awareness around, oh, I have social anxiety? And is the awareness around, oh, that's persona work. I'm aware that that's persona. I'm aware I have social anxiety, but I might think, well, I just have to embrace and work on my introversion because that's what it's about. Or is the awareness around the category of where I have to put attention? Oh, this is persona for me. Like, what are we actually being aware of?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure if I understand the question, but I think that awareness happens. I mean, I think we're already talking about doing it, right? Like, we're aware that this is persona work. So I guess I'm not...
okay, then if I'm already aware of that.
Okay.
So I'm aware that I've got social anxiety, and I think it's about fixing something in my personality type and getting over my introversion or something, but we say, no, it's actually persona work. So I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Is that all? I guess the question is that all I have to be aware of, that I'm in the category persona work?
Oh, I see.
Or is there something else I have to be aware of as well to be able to start that work?
Okay, now I understand your question.
Right? Is it just categorical, or is there like detail there?
Yeah, well, there's multiple different, I mean, I guess the answer is before you start modifying your persona, you probably should know what you're working with to begin with.
Okay.
So it is an awareness of how your persona is showing up already. So like what does it look like? So so if persona is the interface between yourself and the outside world, then you have actually 2 points that you have to be aware of. You have to first be aware of, well, what are your values? Who are you, right? What are your personal values? What are the things that are important to you? What are your thoughts and opinions? What are your beliefs? Like,
okay, so that guy, the person that came on to make the comment about me depersonalizing me, maybe I didn't know that I valued my individuality as much until all of a sudden I'm triggered about it. Like, wait, like I've been carrying that core value the whole time.
mm-hmm.
Like I care about projecting to the world that I'm a unique snowflake and there's nobody else like Joel Markwitt. He's the only one like him. He's such a unique snowflake. You could not lump him in with everybody and make him just one of the crowd. Mm-hmm. Like that's unconsciously, I'm carrying that into the world.
Yes.
And then I go on a camera and I think I'm demonstrating that. I think I'm signaling this. I think that's my persona. And somebody says, oh, the man in this video depersonalized me, makes me an NPC. And I go, wait, I thought I was projecting this. I didn't have conscious awareness as projecting that out, or I wanted to project that out until it was reflected back to me that people weren't reading that. And I realized, oh, actually I wanted to be more unique projection. I wanted people to see me as more unique than they are.
Yeah.
And this person reflected back to me that those are my values. So I was aware of those now because the boundary was crossed there, or it was reflected back to me that wasn't being received.
Yeah.
And now I have the ability to know about that, but I also now can go, oh, I guess there is this thing that I'm signaling to the world that maybe I didn't see before. Yep. I feel bad about that. Is that what I want people to think about me?
Yeah.
Like a bunch of content became available in that moment.
Yeah, so triggers can definitely do that. You're talking about still in the realm of triggers.
Sure, as one of the avenues for this.
That's right. But you can also not have to be triggered and still understand what's important to you and how you want to be seen by the outside world. So the first step is building some awareness around, like, what are you trying to communicate to the world? How do you want to be seen? Are you a person who wants to be seen as confident, or do you want to be seen as kind, or do you want to be seen as capable and competent, or do you want to be seen as somebody who is unique? Do you want to be seen as somebody who, puts others first, or, you know what I mean? What do you want to telegraph to the outside world? And so that's the first piece. The first piece is like, what do I want my persona to be? What do I want people to think of me as? And you can say that these are, oftentimes they're associated with core values. Oftentimes they are. Like, I think it's important to put others first. So I want to be seen as somebody who puts others first. That might not be your core value. You might say, actually, I want to be a person who is seen as having a lot of self-respect. So I want other people to see me as a person who has self-respect. So it's like basically building self-awareness around just what you're consciously aware of at this time. And then the other piece of it is, how are other people actually seeing me? Like, getting a little bit of feedback. Like, do you see me as a kind person? Now, of course, if they love you, they'll be like, yeah, I see you as a kind person. But like getting like real feedback, how are other people receiving me? If I'm an individual that wants to be seen as a person with a lot of self-respect, is that what people see? And what's nice about triggers is that they will show you things that can't be accessed just through conscious awareness.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to be seen as a bunch of different things, but now you want to be seen as human to all. Yeah. Right? That's part of the value. And now you can ask yourself, like, is that something I want to maintain, or is that something that actually isn't that big of a deal? And I've got to kind of figure out, is it because I tend to dehumanize myself, or do I feel like other people dehumanize me, or what's going on there? Right? And so you can, whatever isn't obvious on the top level, you can dig out with triggers.
Yeah. So besides triggers and reflection, so we're talking about getting aware of my persona and the personas that I'm carrying into the world.
Yes.
Because often we may not be aware of those. Like, oh, I have a persona. I'm curating something. I'm reading the world. And I would argue that the person that has it curated the most is aware of it the least.
Yeah, probably.
That's probably there's probably a direct correlation there for most people on a bell curve. Like, the less curated it is, and by the way, when we say less curated, we don't mean a person that like rolls out of bed with their hair messy and their pajamas on
and goes shopping.
That's just to me, that's just as curated as the person that's all buttoned up, and it's very like it's like the anti-curation. It's they're doing the same thing on the opposite side of the same coin. Like, it's the same energy. It's like I'm not going to do anything for the outer world regardless, or I'm going to do everything for the outer world. It's like one side of the same energy, or opposite sides of the same energy, I should say.
Yeah, if persona is a tension point in the middle that gets adjusted slightly depending upon the environment and the moment and the time, then those are the extremes. The overly curated is I'm going to 100% show up as the world wants me to, versus the I'm going to require the world to accept me on my terms no matter what.
Like, no matter what I do or how I show up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think both are, I mean, I would say that's, I don't know if you'd say curated, but I think it's definitely...
It's imbalance.
They're probably not aware of their persona either.
Yeah, it's imbalanced persona.
So on those two extremes, the awareness is low.
Yeah.
Coming into the middle and having a balance, your awareness starts to go up.
Yeah, and if you're a person who's like, I want to be seen as a capable person, but then you're like going to the grocery store in your pajamas all the time, you're probably not going to be seen as that. And you can get your back bowed, you can get an attitude about that. Well, they shouldn't be judging me that I'm in my pajamas. I could be a capable person anyway. And it's like, sorry, that's just how reality works. Yeah. If you can't even be bothered to get up and take a shower and put nice clothes on and brush your teeth and get real shoes on, why am I going to assume that like you're going to be a really capable and competent person in other areas of your life? You didn't even competently dress for the day. So yeah, that's everybody should be meeting me on my terms and not judging me at all, which is just, it's a idealistic, and it just doesn't match with it just doesn't match reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
So step 1 about building awareness, core values, tuning into your current persona through reflection and triggers. This is how we can get awareness around this. So what's our next step? We have awareness now. I know I've got a persona. I know I've got some persona work to do as a person. Where do I go from here?
Well, so the healthiest personas are the most flexible and adaptable ones. They're the ones that meet the situation by reading it well and going, this is how I need to be showing up in this situation, while at the same time still honoring myself. Okay,
so I got to stop here because a lot of people are going, well, that's chameleon thinking. You're wishy-washy. You're two-faced. You're never showing up as your real self then. If you're always contextualizing, again, I'm being devil's advocate, you're just showing whatever people need to see from you to get by.
Which would be true if I didn't end that sentence without compromising yourself. So being wishy-washy or chameleon-like, by definition, is self-compromise. Yeah. You are deciding that the environment gets to determine who you are in that moment and not yourself. But persona work is a meeting in the middle. So how do I show up to the environment in the best way possible to meet it with the context that it's presenting to me? Yeah. Is this a job? Is this my family? Is this school? Is this, right? Like, there's a lot of different contexts out there. Is it the beach, right? If I have a court hearing, am I in a bikini? Am I wearing a suit to the beach? It's like these contexts ask us to show up in different ways. So that's the first thing, is meeting the context where it's at without compromising the self. And so saying, no, I should be able to wear a bikini to court is not compromising the self if you wear a suit, right? It's like, yeah, I guess you could call that chameleon behavior, but I believe that is a person who does not have a balanced relationship to persona, and so therefore probably has a ton of shadow content for sure. So,
okay. We had a senator from our state where we live who was going to the Senate wearing shorts and a sweatshirt.
A hoodie, yep.
A hoodie, and it was causing a lot of problems because you're supposed to wear a suit and tie or whatever in the Senate here in the United States. And it was like this big brouhaha, and I think they changed the rules to allow this to happen because they were like, well, this is the authentic way this person wants to come here. So who are we to say why does might make right in this scenario? Why can't that person be who they truly are? And I think they changed the rules back, and the person's now wearing a suit to the Senate. But there was kind of this debate, and that was a persona.
That was a persona debate.
Battle or debate.
Yep.
Right?
For sure.
Who gets to win on the persona of how we show up in the United States Senate?
Yep.
And I think the Senate won, the individual lost in that scenario. But I think a lot of people would say, well, why do they get to win? Why doesn't he just get to be who he really is? Why does he have to change for other people?
Yeah.
There's this tension point yet again. And I think through this, every single one of these steps, I keep hearing tension point.
Yep.
There's no right or wrong answer.
There's a tension point.
It's like a negotiated moment each time. It's like there's no absolute price on a house. It's like what somebody's willing to pay for it.
That's right.
So with persona, it's like, what am I willing to adjust, and what's the outside world willing to adjust?
Yep.
And so we're now at you said small adjustments or showcasing it in different ways or broadening it, I think.
No, I said being adaptable and flexible.
That's the word you used.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then the second step is playing with flexibility and adaptability, showing up a little different in each context, right? If you're used to always having a smile on your face, then showing up without a smile on your face. And then if somebody goes smile, as opposed to getting your back bowed and being like, I don't owe you anything, you just go, it's interesting that they called out that I wasn't smiling and a bunch of stuff is coming up for me. And then contending with it as that happens, right? Do I owe a person this smile? Why do I feel like I do? Why am I upset that they said that, right? Is it really something that's going on for them? What does that tell me about myself, right? So you make these small adjustments and then allow the resulting reaction and response in you from the environment, right? The environment will give you reaction and then you'll react to the environment. And so you're using that material, those small adjustments, to give you better information about yourself and how you're showing up and how the world is reflecting back. And so so basically what you're doing is you're adapting intentionally, right? You're doing like, you're basically asking yourself, what does the situation call for, right? What is it asking of me? And how can I honor my values while trying to meet the situation in the middle?
So what I hear from step one is getting aware of where I'm starting from. Where is my persona showing up? And step two is saying, okay, what is the outside world asking me to meet? Where are they asking me to meet them at?
Yeah.
And then now I've got these two levers. I'm looking at the context. I'm like, I can be adaptable to my environment. I'm aware of the way I want to show up, but I also am willing to adapt to the environment and what's asking for me. So now I have the two ingredients. I know where I'm starting from and I know what's being asked.
Yep. And then in the post game, right, after the scenario has happened, then as opposed to just going like, okay, well, I guess I adapted, then you do some reflection. And the two questions are, did it serve me? Did I get rewards from the outside world? And then did it align with my values? Because that's what you're trying to find. That's the actual tension point.
So that's the measurement of the outside world and yourself.
Yes.
So I'm aware of myself, step one. I'm aware of what's the outside world's asking me, step two. Step three is now I need to look at the measurements of how much did I adjust or how much did the world adjust? What were the measurements of it? How did I feel about it? Qualitative.
Well, this is still step two.
Oh, we're still in step two. Okay.
Yeah, that's step two. Step two is going like, okay, I intentionally was flexible and adapted. How'd it turn out? Do I feel bad about it? Did I get rewards for it? Did the outside world accept me more, but I feel really terrible about myself? Yeah. Or did I stick with my values, but then I kind of screwed myself over, right? And now I have to deal with that. Like, what was the response? What was the outcome of it all? And that's what you're trying to balance, those two things. Because sometimes you just need a haircut, right? Sometimes just getting a haircut will get you the job. Right? It just does. It's like, well, I really needed a job, but I won't cut my hair. I mean, this is like an old 1960s argument, so I'm intentionally using something ancient, but some people just need to get a haircut, and it was fine. It's like, really, was 3 inches of hair the hill you were going to die on? Yeah. And for some people it was. And then they went off and did other, they built a life outside of a corporate system. And for other people, like, nope, 3 inches doesn't really mean anything to me. And then they had a life within the corporate system. And it's like, who made the right choice? Right? Gotcha. It's like, it depended on the individual. So to go, you just sold out. It's like, well, no, you would have sold out, but that person made a choice that was right for them. So that's the thing about persona, is that like we tend to project ourselves onto everybody else, but persona work is an inside job. It's just our relationship for us to navigate the world properly.
Okay. So then what's the next step?
So the third step is to integrate feedback. And this is how you clean as you go. It's like if you're making a meal, sometimes you can clean the dishes as you go, and so you don't have a big mess for yourself at the end of cooking the meal. And integrating feedback is like cleaning dishes as you go. It's when people give you feedback from the outside world in the way that we were talking about earlier. You hear somebody say, I like the podcast, but yikes, or the man in this video, or whatever it is, right? Whatever is the reflection back. As opposed to, screw you, or glossing it over, or not looking at it, or whatever. You take the feedback and you determine what it means to you. What does it tell you about yourself? Yeah. What are the values that are emerging in understanding all of this? And then the other piece of it is learning how to filter feedback. Yes. So what you can get good at, and this is one of the reasons why doing this work helps you calm down and not be so anxious, is you start to see the pattern of biases in other people. So filter the feedback to go, are societal or individual biases coming in here?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, do I care about that? And do I need to care about it? And so not everything everybody says to you is a massive trigger, because you get good at like listening for, oh, this is something I should probably take into consideration.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've had people go, I mean, when we were doing black and white and we were doing it kind of artistically, or I think it was actually our segue into doing, you know, video, because we had been audio for so long on the podcast. We were sort of dipping our toes into it. And somebody on one of the videos said, fun fact, black and white is what ugly people use to feel better about themselves. And did I take that as like a thing? I'm like, all right, well, this person thinks we're ugly. Good for them. Is that like a societal reflection back, or is this person's individual bias?
Yeah.
Did I care about that? I didn't care about that. And so you get good at like learning what kind of feedback you should take into consideration, and the stuff that you can just disregard and just like throw away.
I have another bad story that people are going to judge me about, but I'll use it illustratively. So I was very young at the time, and the FJs, all the Harmony users are going to probably have the most umbrage with this one. So I'm young. I'm like 20, 22, somewhere in this range, very, very young and immature. And, you know, ENFP, I want to signal to everybody that I'm not like you. I show up to my cousin's wedding.
Oh, you've told this one before.
I know. I did tell this before, but it's been a long time, so somebody may not have heard it.
So there's a fresh batch of listeners that will hear the horror of this story.
Re-incriminating myself. Here we go. So my persona shows up at my cousin's wedding in shorts, cargo shorts, with like high tops. It was like back in the 90s, right? High tops, cargo shorts, and like just a regular polo shirt with a green blazer and a fishing hat.
What?
I don't know why I look like a clown. I mean, it looked awful.
Do you mind telling me, like, I mean, just for the purposes, I know I probably shouldn't name names, but which cousin was this?
I'm not going to say the name, but it's just, I'll tell you later.
But what letter does it start with?
A.
Okay. It's even worse.
You know my cousin. I think she has ESFJ preferences.
I think so
it was
too.
probably very painful for her. Anyway, it was like one of those things where I didn't think it mattered. I didn't think it would be a problem. Of course.
Screw you, society.
Of course, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to be in wedding photos as the cousin.
Right.
So anyway, I look at that, and at the time, you know, everybody my family's like, oh, Weird Joel's doing Weird Joel things. Just ignore him. Don't pay any attention. So I'm just like, oh, I got off the hook. But I'm telling this to a friend of mine, an ENFJ friend of mine, years later, by the way, like years later, maybe even a decade later. And she is so offended. She gets angry at me that I'm talking about this. And how could I be so terrible to my cousin and not read the social stuff? And I'm kind of saying it as a joke. Even 10 years later, I'm still not even having reflected. But she's reflecting back to me something in that moment. And I realized, oh man, I need to do a massive update. A massive update on my persona. I just walk into a space and I kind of bully the space to accept me however I show up.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, I didn't have those conscious thoughts. I'm thinking that now with that articulation. But I think I had a moment where at first I was like, why are you so offended? It wasn't even your thing. Like, you're offended on somebody else's. I was like dismissive of her. But I started to reflect, and, you know, I've had conversations with you, and I've reflected. This is decades now later, decades later. And I would say that was a persona issue on my part. Mm-hmm. I had a badly designed persona that I walked into a context that was completely inappropriate for that context. In my maturity now, I can look back and go, holy crap, how rude I was, how immature I was. At the time, I didn't see it. But now I'm looking and I'm going, that could have been a lot better. I could have dialed my persona in a lot better. And so the feedback I got for how I showed up, I've integrated that, and I have changed myself of how I interface with the world.
Right.
I would show up now much more appropriate to support what's happening there than to make it the Joel show. Like, what a terrible, selfish thing for me to do at the time. And I would have fought anybody that tried to tell me that at the time. Like, you told me that was I would have fought you and said, no, I get the right for this. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I was kind of a jerk. Or at least I wasn't being thoughtful about somebody that I cared about in my life, my cousin. Or the rest of the family. Everybody probably wanted nice pictures and nice things and look nice, right? it was a joke to me. I wasn't taking it serious and very immature. And I'm realizing, like, I kind of went through these steps. I was aware of it. I didn't accept it right then. And then I saw how the world wanted me to, well, they're bad and wrong for wanting me to do that. But then as the more I went by, I went, I need to integrate some of this feedback and change how I present myself.
Yeah.
Now, if you're listening and you invite me to your wedding, I promise I will show up in a tux or whatever you need me to show up in. I won't look like a crazy person or a clown. But that took some time, and it took me to have to really, and it took decades for me to maybe a decade for me, a little bit longer than a decade for me to actually come around to it.
Yeah.
So the other thing is this work can't be fast sometimes. Like sometimes this takes a while, I think is the point I'm trying to land. And I'm trying to show illustratively like how these kinds of things come about and how we curate them over time. This isn't a weekend project sometimes. No. It might be a lifetime project or at least a decade project for you to look at just the first three things we're talked about so far. Yeah. So let's go on. What happens if we get awareness through all the various means? We've looked at what the world is expecting of us. We've tested that. We've kind of played with those metrics, if you will. We've integrated the feedback to adjust our persona, like I did with my cousin. Like, even though it took a while, I believe I've adjusted my persona to show up to events more appropriately. What's next? The work's done, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're getting awfully close. So, yeah, that was the persona of Weird Joel, wanting everybody to be okay with Weird Joel.
Just you're not
inflexible.
You're a weirdo, and you're not like us.
Yeah.
And, oh man, somebody said you're a weirdo. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm a weirdo more. I love it.
Well, and actually, what's interesting is that the next step is to update your presentation to embrace complexity, because adaptation and asking yourself what aspect of myself is most appropriate in this context requires us to have greater self-awareness of the complexity of who we are.
So really, I'm lazy in that moment.
Well,
I'm like, you guys have to accept me how I am because I'm too lazy to update anything.
I kind of feel like maybe the persona of weird is like cheap complexity. It's like knockoff complexity.
Discount complexity.
It's discount complexity. It's like I'm a complicated person because I'm weird, and it's like, well, maybe actually you're not very complicated. Maybe you just have a persona of being weird. And I've had this too. By the way, I
think that's definitely true for me.
Yeah.
In my past.
Oh, and me too. By the way, I've had these sort of oversimplified personas that I've required the world to accept around me, which were cheap knockoff versions of complexity. If we really know ourselves well, though, if we understand how complicated we are and the complexity that's within us, then we are better at updating our presentation to match what part of ourselves that we want to bring to this moment. This would include dress. We talk about like rolling out of bed and going shopping. And I've talked to a lot of young people who are very similar to young Weird Joel.
All three of my freaking kids do this.
I won't let the youngest. I tell Piper to have some self-respect.
Like, get some clothes on. We're going to the store. Wear some clothes.
Well, and they're always like, I should be able to go in my pajamas. I'm like, you can go in your pajamas. Nobody in the outside world is going to stop you, but they're going to see you as a person lacking respect for yourself and for them. So I force Piper, like at this point, like, you're not leaving the house in pajamas. I'm sorry. In the same way that I would not allow you to leave the house in other attire, I'm not going to let you leave the house. You're 12. Show some self-respect. I know you're only 12, but like, you've learned better than to wear pajamas to Target. So, so there's a
mom wisdom.
That's right. So, there's embracing complexity within the self, and that's like the next piece of it. And this is why, by the way, as we go, things get easier and easier, because it's not like you have to like reevaluate every situation every time with all this complexity. You're sort of building an understanding of how complicated you are and how complicated things are. And so it goes faster, right? Yeah. It's like you're not defending anything anymore that you need other people to acknowledge about yourself, because you're acknowledging these things about yourself. You don't need outer world validation as much. You're bringing it in-house. You're like, oh yeah, I am a multi-layered person, aren't I? You don't need somebody to acknowledge that about you. And a lot of times the reason why we assert our persona in the world and force everybody to like sort of accept it is because we need their validation. You don't need it when you've got it in-house. So that's the next level, is updating our presentation to reflect our growing understanding of how complicated we really are. And then saying, what's the best part of me to bring out in this moment?
Okay. Yeah. So I bring the complexity in, and instead of just being the weirdo, I actually display my complex nature. And in my complexity, there's a part of me that can go to a wedding at 22, most likely. I couldn't find it then. Yeah. But it was there. Yeah. I had the persona to do that. And basically now if I add that in, I'm like, well, there's a lot of me that I can bring to all sorts of contexts. I don't have to just be one or two notes. Yep. I can be a whole plethora of things, whatever the context needs me to be.
Well, and thank you for bringing that up, because I think it actually really seamlessly goes into the next aspect, which is acknowledging parts of ourselves that we hope we can successfully hide. So part of the reason why, and I don't know if this was the case for you, but I do know that oftentimes when we have like a single stream persona, it's because we're playing a bit of smoke and daggers, or not smoke and mirrors, cloak and daggers. You're weird Joel. So what does weird Joel overpower? What are people not seeing about you then? And so a bit of our persona isn't just what we wish people do see about us. It's also what we're hoping they don't see. And if we start to integrate or address, maybe not even integrate, but just address that we have shadow material at all, things about ourselves that we don't want other people to see because now they're going to reflect them back to us and we don't want to see them, then that's an important piece of this. What am I trying to hide?
I think I was avoiding intimacy with people at that time in my life. Like I didn't want to get too close. So weirdness keeps people at bay. If you're too weird, people are like, I don't know about getting close to that guy. So it kind of keeps protection. I think there's also part of me that honestly was a little bit shy and socially awkward, just like any young person.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like feature what you can't fix. Well, if I'm going to be shy and socially awkward, let me at least own it. Let me at least be in charge of the frame. I'll set the tone. And so all the awkwardness will at least be my awkwardness I'm bringing to the situation. It'll be my weirdness. And so I kind of get to be in charge of the dynamic in a place where I feel beholden to the social frame. I'm not good at reading the social cues maybe or something. So it's a way for me to, at the time, of course I wasn't aware of any of this. It just in reflection, I can see it. That this is a way to push people away, create a little bit of a space so I don't feel so bad about my social awkwardness within myself. And that's happening all the time with our persona. When we have, like you're saying, I didn't want people to see that about me. I didn't even want to see it about myself, let alone other people see it about me.
Yep.
Okay. So then we're talking about the shadow now.
Well, I mean, we were. That was the next step.
But I'm saying
there's a following step.
But at that level, we're talking about the shadow.
Yes.
We're talking about being able to allow the shadow material to come into the light.
Right.
Now, we made a comment at the earlier, and I don't want to create a double bind here again, but we said, well, shadow work's not really available to you till midlife. So what is it? Is it available to us now or not at this stage?
So the kind of shadow work that most people are talking about, which I suspect is actually more like self-purification. I want to make sure that I don't have anything bad in me ever, is what most people think of as shadow work.
Yeah.
Shadow work isn't just seeing all the bad parts of you.
People think it's institutionalized whatever they have inside of themselves.
Yeah.
Like racism, sexism, whatever they might own for, like whatever they have running in them, the systems or thoughts running. They're like, shadow work is rooting out systemic sexism or systemic racism from within myself.
Yeah.
That's what I think people think shadow work is.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I run in too many personal development circles for it to be a little less societal.
But that's what you mean by purification. Like in my Christian frame, I was sinful and wicked, and I had to like be penance to God and make sure I was in repentant state and make sure I wasn't like honoring the sinfulness in my life. It was like rooting it out. That was the shadow work I would point to in my life. It's always about purity, refining, getting rid of the bad feelings or the bad perspectives or bad sin in my life, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. Getting rid of sin is not shadow work.
That is not shadow work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what shadow work is though, is Jung would say integrating disowned parts. Yeah. So a disowned part is an aspect of yourself that you just don't like that it's about yourself. Or it could just be unprocessed material. So, I mean, depending upon sort of your personality makeup and maybe even say your Enneagram type, you know, we talk about there's positive stuff in there. Let's say and for those of you who are Enneagram geeks, let's say you're self-preservation 3. And it's really difficult for you to take all the kudos that you have been trying to earn with your hard work, even though it feels really weird to accept them, because that's going to point to a bunch of stuff like your question about whether or not you have value in the world and whether or not you show up at the table, you know, on the same level playing field as everybody else, or whether or not you have to earn the right. So the disowned part could be all of the good work you've done. Right? All the hard work you've done. Because if you start seeing that, if you start owning it, now a bunch of other inconvenient material is going to start popping up, which is like, oh, but am I allowed to see myself in a positive way? And why do I think I have to work so hard in order to earn love or acceptance from others, and so on and so forth? So it's not purifying yourself from your sins. It's accepting all the parts of yourself that have very inconvenient material that come along with it. And that work is really best done in midlife. Like that's when we really start to go, who am I in totality? What are all the parts of myself that I've not been looking at? What are the things that I need to just sort of accept about myself? And it makes sense that that would be a midlife question, because those are very introspective questions. It usually happens maybe after you've raised your kids. It happens after you've established a career and you're not just hustling all the time trying to make a living. You know, like, I'm not saying that midlife is kind to everybody, but you've seen some life, right? You got a couple scars on your body. Things aren't working the same way they used to. You don't have endless amounts of time and energy in front of you. Like, it's like, this is a time period of reflection. When you're younger, it's a time period of hustle. It's a time period of trying to establish your life. It makes way more sense that persona work would be important when you're younger than in midlife.
Yeah.
And it makes way more sense that midlife would give you an opportunity to do some legit shadow work than maybe in your 20s or 30s.
So just like we're not saying that persona work can't be done in your midlife or elderhood, because it would be available to us throughout our entire life, we're also saying that some aspects of shadow work are available to us when we're younger. It's just not going to be as obvious, as right in our face, as available maybe how it will be when we're 45, 50. I mean, by that point, it's like all the things that didn't work, we're pretty aware of. Yeah. When we're young, we still think we have a lot of hope and optimism. Like, this is going to work out, right? And it was like, we don't know it's not going to work yet.
Right.
Or it's not going to be okay. Or we don't know we're going to not be with that person. Or we don't know all the bad stuff that's coming for us, all the mistakes and all the things we have to go through are still in front of us.
Unrealized potential. Yeah. And it's like, if I just work hard, it's going to work out for me. And it's like, oh no, I did everything right. And it still went tits up. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe that teaches me something about life that in your 20s and 30s, you kind of don't want to have that lesson yet, because you want to work really hard and hope that it's all going to work out. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or people that are demoralized and think that doesn't matter what I do, it won't work out.
Yes.
I think there's an antithesis to this.
There's an antithesis.
And that's a lot of people too.
Right.
There is no hope for the future. It's all going to be bad and wrong. And I would say, again, they're just as under that kind of that's energy as the person that it's all optimism in front of me. You know, it's just the coin flip.
Yeah, it's just a coin flip. But by the time you get to midlife, you're like, no, it doesn't always not work out. Yeah. But it also doesn't always work out. So you've got some life under your belt, so you can assess these kinds of things. Yeah. And so okay. Yeah, it's like and persona work continues throughout your whole life, by the way. It's not that you only do persona work in your 20s and 30s. It's just a really great time to do so. Yeah. And one of the reasons why shadow work gets kicked off in your 40s is because you are reevaluating your persona. It's because you're going like, wait a minute, maybe this is not working for me. Yeah. As we mentioned in the last podcast, we call it the midlife crisis, when really it's actually just midlife. Right? There's no crisis involved. It's just reevaluation of one's persona and going, what did I miss? Right? And how can I be maybe a little bit more me? You get going on that a little earlier, right? You do some of the stuff we're talking about now, and it's going to be a lot less of a sort of feeling like you got hit in the face with a frying pan when you hit midlife. It's just going to be like a gentler experience with a lot less shadow work to do. Okay. Yeah.
So I've built awareness. I've experimented with small adjustments to my persona with the outside world. I've seen how the outside world's measurement, what they're requiring of me, and I've played with that. I've integrated the feedback and I've adjusted. And now I've aligned myself with my values and what's, what I determine this. And then as shadow material emerges, I start to look at it and go, okay, I'm aware of that now as it's available to me. What's next? Is the work done, or is there more to do?
So the next piece is expanding your comfort zone in your context. So now that you've learned, or now that you're playing with adaptability and understanding how complicated you are as a person and asking yourself, what is the best part of me to put forward? Now you put yourself in a wider variety of experiences. And this is why I mentioned that being shy is persona work, because, you ask yourself, what's the best part of me to put forward in this moment? It might not be standing in the corner in a fetal position, right? Or like hoping somebody talks to you. It might be, maybe I should approach people and see how that works out for me, and doing things out of your comfort zone. Now, sometimes those are really heavy lifts. And if you have to go back to your whole point about being an introvert, the reason why the prescription is different between somebody with introverted preferences and extroverted preferences is the recovery time, A person who has introverted preferences probably will need a higher amount of recovery time when they go do social experiments, but it doesn't mean they have to be anxious. It just means that they'll need a little bit more recovery time. So expand your comfort zone when you know that you have a bit of buffer afterward, right?
Ooh.
And so it's like those kinds of things. It's like expanding your comfort zone, maybe talking to people you wouldn't normally talk to. For anybody, introvert or extrovert, it doesn't matter what your personality type is, going for career opportunities that are in alignment with you, or maybe, expanding to get a bigger circle of friends, or, maybe pursuing something that you might have, had some doubt about, like how people would receive you before, but now you're going to maybe go to that new gathering or that new church or that new, like meetup or whatever. It's like, it's sort of expanding all of this and watching yourself perform while doing all the other stuff, as like a process. It's like you continue to expand and continue the process. What does this tell me about myself? What are my values? Did I show up the way that I could have? Did I get rewards while not, compromising my values? What does that teach me about myself? And then just getting a little bit more centered every single time by learning the art of self-validation through all of it too.
So being able to adapt and broaden, I think this is a tough one for me. I think it's probably a tough one for both of us. Like we know, for example, that if we showed up with a different persona on YouTube, we'd get more success, right? Like I think in terms of like,
it's true.
Like if I've noticed a pattern, like YouTubers that are successful, at least male YouTubers that are successful, like I think of like Mark Rober or Mr. Beast. Like, cause
do the voice, Joel.
My
do
kids,
the voice.
Well, my kids listen to him, and like Mark Rober's like, it's all like way up here. It's like, hey, look at my squirrels in my backyard. It's like this very like they create
Sing-songy.
a lot of rapport, a lot of high rapport, and it's you can almost just like you can hear like a pattern in like how newscasters give the news. It's like a pattern of YouTubers that are successful, and it's like a persona of kind of like almost a childlike voice, like of optimism and curiosity and discovery. I've noticed this like it's a pattern. It's like I feel I don't want to do that. I just I have bristle at the idea of playing nice with these algorithms and all these personas that work well online. But I can't deny that they get the results.
Yeah.
Like they get the results, but it's like really hard for me to want to expand my persona to match things that are expected of me in certain contexts.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be the TikTok persona. TikTok drives me crazy. Right? I don't want to dance at point at words on the screen or do some kind of goofy thing with music. And yet I know that that's like the game on TikTok as the persona game.
Mine is shorter content, short form content. I'm always like, I can't do it. I have to spend a long time laying out a concept. I can't do short form. And I know I need to. I know I need to master it, but I'm just like, it's hard for me to expand my comfort zone to short form content.
So it's not that we're unaware, we're just unwilling.
Yeah.
You and I are just stubborn pieces of garbage that just won't do it.
Oh, think about the shadow material that's waiting for us later.
Like I don't know what'll happen. What kind of shadow comes up for me if I start talking like Mark Rober?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I don't think that necessarily is perfect examples, but I think they're close.
I'm being fun with it, but
yeah.
To my point, this can be tough to expand because it feels it doesn't feel like me. It would feel like me affecting something that's not. It doesn't feel like it came from within. It feels like I'm trying to match something from without.
Well, and actually, I'm glad you brought it up because I don't. I mean, is it okay if I give you pushback?
Please do.
I don't think those are great examples because I think, for me, short form is, and I just have to bite the bullet. But for you doing the Mark Rober voice or the Mr. Beast voice, I think that actually would, I think that would go against your values as somebody who doesn't want to misrepresent themselves in that way.
Yeah.
So persona doesn't mean that that works, so I have to do it. It's meeting it halfway. So can you generate the amount of success that you want while not having to compromise that and be inauthentic?
Yeah.
So I think that's fine for you. For me, I need to do short form and I'm just being lazy. But like learning a skill I don't want to have to learn. But I mean, I think that this is like, these are the kinds of things one does consider when they're expanding their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up because I think we're going way
it's like
late.
3 hour long.
It's like I'm sure this is a 3 hour long podcast.
We didn't even get through all the things you want to talk about. Sorry about that.
Well, I have to kick the can.
I took us into more story land.
You did. That's okay. That's okay.
All right. So what's next? So I've now been able to apply in a broader context my persona. What do I do next?
So the final form is to use the persona basically as a tool while staying authentic and adaptable. So basically recognizing that your persona is not a complete picture of you. It just isn't. It's just a slice. So if it's a slice, can you use it as a tool to adjust to the context and help everybody have a better experience, right? How can you do that? So if it's a tool, it's a flexible mask. Going back to the original point, which was that masks in ancient Greece on the stage were not intended to be false fronts. They were intended to be exaggerations of something. So people in the back seat could hear through the amplification of, like, the mask itself would be an amplifier for voices. And the emotion or the feeling on the face was exaggerated so that people could see what the character was supposed to be conveying. So it's a flexible mask of amplification. What part of yourself are you amplifying? What part are you trying to make sure that everybody understands about yourself in this moment? It's not a rigid identity, right? And don't mistake yourself. Don't over-identify with your persona. It's something that you put on and take off and put on and take off. And that makes it really, it makes it like kind of an aid. You know what I mean? Like it's a helper. Your persona is a helper to you. It's not something that you have to, it's not a hill to die on. Does that make sense?
So it's not an identity, it's interface.
Yeah, exactly.
It's well, I play a lot of Fortnite with Piper right now. And we have skins. Like, we have the same character base that you're playing in this game, but you put a different skin over top of it. Like, I've got my Steelers outfit over top of my character, and she's got some little princess thing, and we go kill people together. Like on teams, like two of us, dad, daughter, playing Fortnite, which is really fun. Yeah. And we win a lot, by the way. I'm not as good as her. She's so much better. She has to carry me all the time. Yeah. Point taken, though. We're creating avatars, and we're almost skinning ourselves in a way. And so I think I almost want to see persona as that. What is the skin I'm wearing? What is the, not a Silence of the Lamb kind of way, more like, Fortnite. But what is the character, the avatar I'm showing? That's the word I'm looking for, avatar. How am I showing up in a way to interface in this moment? And I don't think when we say show a different aspect of yourself, it's not radically different. It's not like I'm going to go and completely change, I'm not going to wear like a wig on my head and like completely change how I show up if I go to this context versus over here. Now, some people do, I guess, but I don't think that's what we're suggesting. It's just being able to show up with the interface that's appropriate for the moment. And usually that's through our energy, our tone, our excitement, what we talk about, our information exchange, like all the things that we do have in our control. And it won't necessarily feel super different from context to context for us, I think.
Yeah. When you say wig, you mean kind of like camouflaging yourself or having like an alter ego or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Alter ego. It's not Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
Like, I'm not running in as some like, middle-aged like British nanny in one context, and I'm running in as a father and dad in the other context. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah. I think that is fakery, and that's not really you. Like, no one's really that. So that's the image I think some people might have in their head is, it's Mrs. Doubtfire type thing.
No, this is it's finding the part of yourself that serves you in that moment.
Yeah.
But knowing that whatever you choose to amplify does not define the whole you. And the more persona work you do, the more, or I would say maybe the less you worry that other people are defining you in that moment.
Yeah.
Because you're not defining you in that moment. Like, you just, and if somebody's like, well, you're a person who blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, I'm a person that at times blah, 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 blahs, but that's not my whole self. And so persona gives us a really actually great opportunity to watch ourselves become more complex and get the feedback of that complexity while staying as authentic as we can. I think people who've done persona work really rest into themselves. That's what I experience when I'm around somebody who I can tell has done a lot of persona work. And by definition, that means that they've accepted feedback and worked on some of their triggers. And, they're not, they don't take feedback too seriously, right? They screen for biases, but they also take it seriously enough to promote or influence some introspection. I find that they have like a pretty chill vibe most of the time, right? And even people whose authentic energy is a little higher attuned. There's some people out there, maybe creative subtypes, who love the dopamine and they have like a little higher vibration, like energetic vibe. And that's fine too. But you don't, it's like you relax around them, even if you're not if you're not on their channel. You know what I mean? It's like, like a person who has a persona that needs work, you don't relax around them because you're never sure what they're hiding. You never know what's going to trigger them. You never know you don't know what you're getting into because they're not really telegraphing their true self. But when somebody's done persona work, you feel like they're a real person. You feel like you can kind of tell that they're not putting their cards too close to their vest for whatever reason, or you're not going to trigger them because they have their rights, and you can't take their rights from them. It's just, this is a person who you can talk to and get to know better, maybe form some connection and intimacy, and maybe get to know them beyond their persona. Maybe you can get all the way to their ego, right? Their self-reflection. So that's really the end game, is to recognize that this is just an access point to the rest of you.
When I'm around somebody that has an extremely tightly curated persona, the feeling that gives me is the same feeling that I get when I'm sitting in the audience with somebody on stage that's speaking that's very nervous and is kind of like tenuous about their speech, and you're nervous on their behalf. Yeah. Have you ever been in that environment where you're like, the person, you can tell they're not certain of themselves, and they're like, feel like they're messing up on stage, and you almost feel like ashamed for them. You almost want to take the shame on yourself. You're like, it's creating you to feel awkward on their behalf.
I've been the awkward person on the stage.
Well, that's how I feel when I'm in the presence of somebody that's got that curated persona dialed in so much. It's almost like I feel nervous on their behalf in a way. I feel nervous that they're so uncertain. It's like them giving a talk on the stage. Yeah. And unfortunately, ENFPs aren't really great about that. We tend to
amplify
make
the
it
emotion
worse.
Anyway.
I've gotten better. Sometimes we don't. I've been punishing to people that have had very tightly curated personas because it offends my, I guess, core values, and so I've gotten better at it. Yeah. Ask me someday in person if you're listening. I'll tell you the stories. I won't say them on here. Okay, so if you've been listening along, we've been talking about persona, some of the specific action steps to take. If you want to work on persona, it's available to us. We walk through some of the ways we can approach this. It's not comprehensive, but it's a pretty good list, I think, of the steps for it. It's about building awareness of the self and like where I'm attuned. I'm not going to go through all the steps, but just the general principles. It's, okay, where is my persona already showing up? I'll get awareness around that. Triggers, tuning into it, thinking about it. What's the outside world require of me? And what are the metrics they have?
Or it's asking of me. What's
it requesting? And do I want to meet it there, or do I want it to meet me? And now it's a negotiation. It's a tension point. I need to negotiate how much of myself am I going to meet the outside world versus how much am I going to make the world meet me? And it's probably some adjustment that needs to be made there. Maybe you're overdoing it or underdoing it. So you adjust the levels, the volume.
And maybe you need to change it depending upon the context.
Be flexible for that. And obviously our experiences in life will help us do that as we get more experience. It's probably why experience is so important, getting out of our comfort zone. So we have available aspects of ourselves to showcase in more places. So the more things we do, the more we'll see ourselves come out. And then it's when shadow material emerges there, we can now look at that and go, okay, I gotta see that. That's something that I need to address. It's real. Like if I look back at that wedding example, I was probably pushing people away. I didn't want to create intimacy with anyone. And I also wanted to cover over my own social awkwardness. Didn't know it at the time, but it was probably my own social awkwardness by being in the frame of being weird and setting the frame and the tone. Well, now I'm in charge of the dynamic, right? So, shadow material. Is that something to fix necessarily? It was hard to see it then. I couldn't see it then. I had to be later in life to be able to have it reflected. So maybe stuff's just not available. When it is, address it, look at it, see it. And then finally, it's adjusting, adapting, broadening the framework that I can bring to it. And then continuing that cycle over and over again in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and acknowledging how complex we are.
Yes.
And that our persona is a tool that serves us. It doesn't define us. And to validate our own complicated, multifaceted personalities that are beyond the persona by watching ourselves show up differently in different contexts and learn more and more about ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. If you've been listening along, we want to hear from you. What's coming up for you? Come over to personalityhacker.com directly below this episode. Love to hear a comment, a question, or share your story. Have you been through some of these same experiences that me and Antonia talked about today? And what was the result? Like, what has your persona work been? Is this something that you're newly aware of? Like, whoa, okay, I'm coming into awareness that I've got this persona. I need to dial it in differently. Here's how I'm triggered in certain contexts. I watch myself behave here. Here's what was the material that was reflected back to me. I'm upset that you guys say that the world's asking me anything. I never want to do that, and I want to make a comment that that's inappropriate and wrong, and the world should completely meet me on my terms. Or, wow, I've been a person, I've only met the world all on their terms. Maybe I should put myself in the equation a little bit more and adjust it that way. We'd love to hear what's going on for you as you listen to this. How are you taking this material, and how are you going to make it come alive in your life? How are you going to actually apply it is really what I want to know. Because I think that could be a great discussion directly below this podcast. And while you're at personalhacker.com, leaving a comment, asking a question, or sharing your story under this podcast episode, you should check out the 16 personality owners manuals. We've got a whole bunch of products and services and courses and things, but I love to get people started with their owner's manual because there's one for all the 16 types in the Myers-Briggs system. It's a powerful starting place, helps you get your life set up ergonomically for how you're wired individually for your type. Talks about things like not being one-sided, not being too introverted or too extroverted, but balancing yourself out with parts of you that maybe you're ignoring right now. And it's really the starting place for getting into some of the persona, ego, shadow work, and the whole self work. Yeah. Personality type is a great on-road for that. And after you get your starter kit or your owner's manual to get started, then we can move into more of the deeper stuff. And if you're really interested in going deeper into the persona and shadow, our Personality Life Path Mentorship is probably the course that I would recommend for the deeper work if you're ready for it. We're going to all 8 functions. I think you have to be ready for that, though, because it's a pretty significant course we run people through.
Yeah. I was also going to set an intention.
Yeah.
I would like in the future to lay out, last episode, we talked about how persona work helps with shadow work. And then I made the comment that it helps us have wise elderhood. I think I'd like to flay at that concept a little bit more in some future episode. I don't know when, maybe the next one or maybe.
Well, maybe at one of these live events I want to plan.
Yeah.
Where we talk about persona and we do a live podcast at that event. It'd be perfect in alignment with that time period.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe it'll come about then.
All right. And if you enjoyed the podcast, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and various Android platforms, including Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube right now, we also have a YouTube version, a video podcast version that you can subscribe to as well, and like and hit the little bell. And if you want to leave some feedback, you can do that on Apple Podcasts. That's the one I usually read, and it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy to see a review, not just a rating, but also a review. But you can also leave a comment on YouTube as well. Those are all the places that you can keep the conversation going.
There you go. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And we'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker podcast.